everybody. Welcome to EduMatch. So great to see y'all again. We just came from an episode, and now we have another episode right at you. So we are here with PasstheScopeEDU, some of the crew, and we are here for year two. So welcome to all of our amazing panelists. So and it feels short-sighted to call them panelists. I want to call them family. So let's go ahead and just introduce ourselves. So let's kick it off with Brian. We'll go from my left to my right. So we're gonna go Brian, Derek, then Valerie. So Brian, if you could please introduce yourself.
You just introduced me. I'm Brian Smith out of North Texas. I am a digital learning instructional content coach. I guess that's what you want to call me now. Party planner, or whatever the case is. Whatever I need to do for the Educational Service Center, that's what your boy does.
That is awesome. Well, great to have you on here. And then next up, we have Derek.
Hey, everybody. Derek Larson. I'm currently serving as the Educational Technology Director for Southwest Educational Development Center, a service center like Brian, but in the southwest part of the state of Utah. So I do a lot of that same stuff. My office just put on an autism conference on Saturday that I was there for part of, and that's like one of about 8 different events we do every year. So I'm all over the place, but I have big news coming shortly. There will be changes to what I'm doing today. But we'll leave that for later this week. Not yet. That's just a tease. We call that a tease in this industry.
Ooh, okay. I'm here for that announcement. Totally here for that. All right. And Valerie, how about you?
All right. Well, I am Valerie Lewis outside of the Metro Atlanta area here. And I'm an educator in Gwinnett County currently. And, announcements, just recently appointed as an assistant principal for the fall. So excited about that and some of those changes. That's like starting over with teaching year 1 again. So I will figure it all out, but I'm just so happy to serve and support. And that's the common thing here that we're hearing amongst all of us is just service.
Wow. So big things popping for the panel. So that is awesome. Just all kinds of great announcements and just great things. So that is awesome. Just wanted to give a huge shout out to Peggy, who's watching on YouTube Live right now. And she says, what a tease. Looks like he's going to make us wait. Derek. So that is awesome. That is awesome. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So what exactly is PasstheScopeEDU?
Well, PasstheScopeEDU is certainly a community of educators that amplifies the goods and the things that are happening in our classrooms, within our districts, our building. It's, in the past year, it's kind of grown into where we're some of those live stream individuals at conferences that bring the workshops and the sessions to people that can't make it there to kind of amplify that group. So we're just doing the best we can with utilizing live streaming and igniting a passion for learning.
And speaking of that conference piece, then Peggy chimed in a little earlier today, a little earlier this episode, and said that PasstheScopeEDU was an invaluable resource for us last summer at Not at ISTE. So awesome. Thank you, Peggy. All right, great. Gentlemen, do y'all have anything that you want to add?
Well, it is exactly what Valerie just said. It is about the amplification. There are so many educators that are doing some marvelous things across the globe. And many times the best voice is their voice, and we're providing an opportunity for them to be able to toot their own horns without blowing it, so to speak. And while we're taking advantage of the fact that live streaming is actually becoming the it thing. So being able to practice what we preach by taking something that industry is actually using, bring it into the educational realm, and killing it, so to speak. Is about what we do. We're trying to meet our students where they are, meet our teachers where they are for whatever we do. Why not use what they already have in place? And that's what we're trying to do with PasstheScopeEDU.
Hashtag killing it. Yes, that's what we do. Okay, great. And how about you, Derek?
So for me, PasstheScope is just a way to branch out what I'm doing and help to bring in that positive, because there's so much of the whole message on education lately, unfortunately, has been so much more negative. There's too much negativity out there in the world. And you know what? There's so many amazing educators out there doing some awesome work. And so that's something that we can do to help show that, you know what, we're going to tell our own story. You guys aren't, the media's not telling it right. So we're going to tell our own, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to say, forget you. Let's do a homeschool. Let's get right down to grassroots. Let's tell our story, how we want it told, when we want it told, and all the awesome we're doing.
Absolutely. So you touched on something that I'm thinking might come back around in the next question. But before we do that, Peggy just had a great comment in the YouTube live chat where she's saying being able to hear and see things firsthand via the live stream when we can't be there in person is huge. Such an incredible service of love. So thank you so much, Peggy, for that comment. Yeah. So, all right. So the next question for you all, what is the history of the movement?
Okay. So basically Pass the Scope. So Valerie, we were all in this little thing called EduMatch. Have you heard of this thing, Sarah? It's called EduMatch, a little group. It's just a small thing, a couple thousand folks now at this point. But this was back in 2016, about April, end of March, first part of April. And Valerie said, what if we use Periscope or Meerkat or something to show and kind of show what we're doing in education? And we said, okay, let's try this. And so the very, very first one ever was April 21st, 2016. So almost 2 years to the day. Yesterday was the actual 2-year anniversary. But it was interesting because the original 5 on that, so Tatul Matoya, amazing educator out of California, was first up. Then Nicole Taylor was second. Sarah Thomas came up third. I was that evening. And then Valerie Lewis cleaned it all up that night. We had 5 of us the very first time. And it was awesome. It was so great. And the only reason I know that is I wrote about it on my website. And so that was back when I was writing regularly. I'm not doing so good now, but I was doing great then. So I'm just kind of looking through that. And it was amazing. It was such a great experience. But that's kind of where it was. Let's tell our story. Let's us do it ourselves. And let's get in there. So that's basically what I have of the history there.
So, but I wasn't a part of that original 5. But I was a part of the original audience for that first Pass the Scope. And I just so happened to accidentally catch it because I was messing around with Periscope.
Nice. Saw
my friend Nicole Taylor on there and talking about beatboxing. Now, beatboxing is my jam. but then to hear her tie it on to education and then talking about passing the scope, I was like, that's so dope to be able to do that educationally. And I was like, okay, I'm in. And I can't remember who I contacted. I think that's when I reached out to Valerie. I found her name on it, reached out to Valerie and said, hey, how can I be down? And the rest is history.
And you've been here like almost from that second one on, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Month 2, and then from here on out.
That is correct. That is correct.
And an invaluable resource. I mean, Brian has brought so much to the game. I think between him and Claudio, I mean, they are like master scopers to the point where scoping is like a whole production series. I mean, no one even wants to go after them when they go at this point. Like, they need to be the closers of every night, because it's a production, and just to see their talent and creativity unfold. And I think with that first one, as Brian mentioned, you know, those first couple of ones that we've done, I mean, we bought the thunder with creativity. I think Stacy Lovedahl had like a whole beach series. I mean, we created, like, it's what teachers do. We found the resources in our homes and we made them work with the theme. And I think we just had fun with it. And that's the thing that I think a lot of times people forget. Education doesn't need to be stiff, right? But we really enjoyed and we were passionate about what we were doing, and we wanted that passion to be infectious. And I think that's why we're here 2 years later still doing this thing.
Well, and what I think is also great about it is the fact that it allows each of us to kind of showcase who we are outside of that classroom, outside of that building, because as contrary to popular belief with some kids, we don't live in our buildings. We all know that. We're there a lot, but we don't sleep there. At least if we do, there's problems, right? So it's really interesting, you know, and it's like I've done a couple here at my house and on vacation in hotel rooms and whatnot, and it just shows that, you know, we're more than just that teacher, just that educator. We're multidimensional, and people often forget that. And again, that goes back tell your own story, tell who we are, what we're all about, and show them firsthand. I think that's one of the best parts for me, is seeing inside behind the curtain some of us.
I would definitely agree with that. So some great comments on YouTube Live from Peggy. She was saying that it's so important that we need to tell our stories and amplify these amazing teacher stories, in response to something that Derek had said. And she was also part of the very first audience. So shout out to Peggy. Peggy is amazing. Yeah.
Now Peggy's seen a bunch. Peggy, I'm talking to you right now. When are you going to scope with us? Because I want to hear Peggy's voice. I want to hear your story, Peggy. I want to have you on a scope. So I'm calling you out because I love you. I want to hear your voice.
Sounds like a challenge.
Challenge. Yes, it has been, the gauntlet has been laid.
That's right.
Oh man. All right, so the next question, I realize, is probably a doozy, so I'm gonna give you all some think time. So the question is, what has been your favorite moment within the past 2 years? So I'm gonna give you all some think time. I'll give you all my moment, which was, it was maybe I would say it was an important moment in my life. So this last December, you guys were with me the day that I walked across the stage to do something that I never thought would happen. Yeah. Graduation day, after 10 and a half years of being in the program, ready to drop out at not the 11th hour, but the 11th hour, 59 minute, 59 seconds. So you all were there with me. And I mean, just the love and the support was just so real. So I have to thank you all, as well as the rest of the Pass the Scope community, for being there. So that was a very powerful impact in my life. So, all right. So what has been, maybe not the favorite moment, if you can't think of just one, but a favorite moment within the past couple of years?
Need some more think time?
I think that, what was it, the Agents of Change scope that we did with the 007 theme, and folks really dressed up for those parts. And yeah, I think Barbara Carter and maybe Tracy Brady that helped get the video. It was like, Agent, you've been called. And I mean, got so creative with it. And we all showed up with our frames and our agents and talked about the change that we wanted to be, or the changes that we wanted to see in education. And I thought that spoke to our why. It was our purpose. It was, as Derek mentioned, each of us being able to say who we are individually. And I think that helped the most. Was
that October 2016?
Yeah, that was early on. It was the 7th episode. That's why it's 007.
That's right. Wow.
Because I started calling them the 2 zeros ahead of time, thinking full on, where's my bond? Where's my bond coming out? Because I'm a bond nerd. So I had a full tuxedo that day, folks. That was an amazing day.
Yes.
You did. Right.
No guns though, because teachers should not carry guns. But I was in a full tuxedo.
No. Nice.
You know, I'm gonna say my favorite moment had to be ISTE 2017. Now, what made it my favorite moment was we allowed people who could not be there to experience the greatness that we all have come to believe ISTE is. But here's the crazy part. Valerie was not there, but you couldn't tell. She was killing it in Atlanta, producing the entire week from her home, lining up the speakers, the guest speakers, lining up who was on, tweeting people from her home, just to be able to feel her passion for what PasstheScopeEDU is from that long of a distance away. To me, was my favorite moment. I could swear to you, she's probably in the wrong field, because she could be a television producer with ease, without a doubt. But she connected so many educators across the globe just by doing that from the seat of her own home. To me, that was powerful and probably one of my favorite moments.
See, and to me, that whole event was probably my top. And that was a big piece of, I mean, honestly, Val, you showed so much leadership, and I'm so glad, I'm so happy that you get to be in administration now, because you basically were the administrator of that whole mess, and it was amazing. We loved it. My favorite part of that ISTE, though, was seeing everybody face to face. because I've always preached this online stuff is amazing, but any chance you get to physically be in a room with someone, break bread with them, hang out, give them a hug, that is powerful. And we need to do everything we're in our power to make those moments happen. I've been lucky enough to meet everybody but Val. We're still waiting on that one.
No.
I've been in the same room with Sarah
Are you
a few
serious?
times. I have not been in the same room with Val yet.
Not
But
yet.
you know what? I'm telling you
Wow.
what, that firecracker that's going to happen one of these times, and it's going to be like boom, like big time. But that ISTE was amazing for me because we were able to meet not just like that core group that we have, but also a lot of the outside players that are there. And it was so amazing because I've been able to really see these people and kind of say, this is the family, as Sarah called it, the personal learning family, that PLF. It really clicked and was like, yes, this is it right here. So that was killer for me.
Yeah. And that was powerful just to see. And, and I, you guys know, I love to be behind the scenes, and, putting me out front almost makes me anxious, as outspoken as I am, but I do love to just support and push. But just to see, I look back at that grid of pictures that we made, and to see like the sea of faces in their PasstheScopeEDU shirts. And it was like,
Yeah.
yo, we had a killer squad. I mean, like, could you imagine just rolling up? I'm just trying to picture like 14, I think it was, of you guys just rolling up in the convention center deep. And folks are like, okay, who are these people? And just to see all these educators come together to make an impact and strike a mighty blow. And the purpose of all of it was to say, hey, we know that people are back home and we want them to see this, to feel this, to experience this, and just to know that people appreciated it. And, we haven't even began to think about this year yet in that great of a detail. I'm pretty sure those same folks are going to be like, wait a minute, if I can't go, I'm almost anticipating what is PasstheScope going to do. So, I mean, that's just the power of technology, point blank, period. It breaks
Right.
down the walls, and it eliminates those barriers. And I hope that conferences can look at that as not a takeaway from what they're doing, but hopefully realize that that may actually add an increase to the people that want to attend their conferences.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, the whole point of a conference to me, you can learn anywhere, but it's to physically be in that room with people. And so I think that's what we're doing, is we're helping to showcase this is why you want to be here. Because look at all these awesome people. Look at the awesome stuff you're missing. Now get your butts in the seats next year so you can be here. And then you can also give back and now help again. But you want to physically get here. And I'm all with you. Because I mean, honestly, they released a lot of the stuff's released anyways. But we want them there. We want to show the fun and the crazy, not just, oh, here's a session, because there's so much more to ISTE than classes, and more any conference for that matter. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is show like the life of a conference.
Absolutely. So wanted to give a huge shout out to Fabiana, who's joining us and who is also chiming in with some great comments on the YouTube live. So, hey, Fabiana. And Peggy wants to know if there's a way to still get a PasstheScopeEDU shirt.
There's a new one coming out.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
I'm here for that too.
we'll put that information out, and we'll have Sarah send that out to the masses real soon.
For sure. Indeed. All right. So where do you all see PasstheScopeEDU going for year 3 and beyond?
We've been talking about this. We have talked about this, and we realize the potential to blow this in places that hasn't been gone before in education. Here's the reality, though. This has provided an opportunity for all of us to amplify what we are actually doing in our own professional careers. And we've gotten a little busy, just to be truthful, with our greater responsibility. It's kind of limited what we are able to do. However, we all see the possibilities and the capabilities of this. So I think what I see in the future, especially coming up with this conference season, is we become our own small network. I'm just going to throw that out there. Our own small network that provides the avenue for people to amplify their voice. not that we are doing it once every third month, but people are coming to us and finding out, okay, how can I learn the skills that you have to get my voice or get my message out there, get my cause out there. And I think Pass the Scope has that capability of doing it, not just because we're using a platform that's powerful, because of the people though that are involved in this. People like Derek, like Valerie, like Sarah, like Tatul, like Claudio, like Margaret. Margaret is killing it down in Louisiana. I mean, there's so many people that are involved that have that passion to push other people. I think that's where I can see Pass the Scope coming up sometime soon.
Well stated. And you know, to piggyback on what Brian said, you know, Pass the Scope, I see it as a space and as a group where people say, hey, we realize that this is a must nowadays. You know, it's, you know, when you look at Toys R Us and where they got it wrong was that they didn't see the must. They didn't see the must to change what had been done. And they stuck with how they had been doing things. And now Amazon has taken over and online spaces has taken over. And a large retailer like Toys R Us, which all of us probably grew up off of, bankrupt and going out of business. And so looking at not just saying, hey, we want to book Pass the Scope EDU, but looking at it as a community that really championed for, you know what, let's provide this window into a world through the lenses of a camera, through the lenses of a phone, if that's all that you have, through the lens of an iPad, and amplify what's going on and hopefully changing people's mind about what that power is. So it's not about what I look like on camera. It's not about self. It's not about what I sound like on camera. It's about that message and that power that needs to get out through that camera lens. And hopefully that's what we provide in year 3, is helping to change people's minds, transforming the teaching that's happening in their classrooms. I think Makisha Rogers is the one that referred to it as pop-up PD, so to speak. And we know Randall Sampson is all about that PD piece, but hopefully they look at this as, I can get on here at any time and learn something from someone else outside of the, you know, the live scopes we do every third Thursday, but it becomes a norm where I can just turn on the camera and I can amplify, and someone on the other end is learning and benefiting from it.
You know, and I find it so interesting because oftentimes we are our own worst critic, right? Where we say, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I don't look good on camera. I don't sound good on camera. I don't like that way that is. But yet we often forget we are in front of a room full of students every day, sometimes hundreds of them. They see us, they hear us, and we have no problem doing that. And I think we have to realize that's just something we've got to get over. We've got to get over our fears and say, you know what? Yeah, I can't do the Brian Smith thing right now. But again, where's that growth mindset right now? Down the road, I can get that production level. I'm just saying it, man. Like you've got this whole new level up, like way up out here. And you know what? That's awesome though, because I look at that and say, I'm going to learn OBS and I'm going to get some of those other things. But for right now, and I got a phone, I just flip the phone on and I do the camera thing, and that works. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to quit judging what we are able to do with what we see others do. And I think if we can get into teachers' heads and have them realize every teacher out there is doing awesome stuff. It's just they don't all think about it that way, and so they're afraid to share. Well, let's get out of ourselves. Let's show what we're doing, good, bad, and I hate to say it, even the ugly. You know, let us see, and that's when the growth comes up, and we go, you know what? I bombed that right there. Let me tell you about a time that I totally bombed it, and I almost lost something, because we can grow, and then also we show other people. Guess what? I got problems too. Everybody got problems, and I think this is where Pass the Scope can really blow up, because people can say, you know what? I'm just like them. I really am just like them. I'm going to start sharing some stuff. And even if it's not on Pass the Scope, but you're sharing amongst other educators, that's the thing that I hope that we're really getting to them and help them to see that, you know what, we're all the same. We're just in different places, but my problems in Utah are very similar to the problems in Atlanta and in Texas and in California and in DC. We all have the same kind of problems as teachers. We all got those kids that don't want to do nothing. We got the parents that want to give us grief, the administrators that don't believe in us. You know, we all have those things, but we also have the awesome, the kids that are going to work their tail off, those parents that, will do anything for you, the administrator that will literally tell you to go home and do this or find what you have to do. We all have the good too. So if we can share that out, boom, we can really help to change that morale, which I think is a huge piece as well.
Oh, I'm feeling that fire right there. Absolutely. So a couple of comments and questions from the YouTube live chat. So Peggy says, Derek, I loved your backstage tour at ISTE 2017, which is in her binder for not at ISTE 17. So she did have a follow-up question about the small network. So I think that was Brian. Could you elaborate a little bit on what you meant by the small network?
Okay, so considering the fact that we figure this out, I think, Sarah, you may have been the first to try things like Restream. Stacy brought OBS on board. And I've just found out a couple of other nuances that we can actually try to where we can actually simulcast to all networks at a very minimum cost, like free. So with that being said, why shouldn't we not take advantage of hitting everybody at one time, but putting that into our website to where you actually come view it in that space, to where you as an audience, as a learner, as an educator, you don't have to go to several places in order to find the PD that you actually need or the live broadcast that you need. It's all in one package, in one space. We already have the bones in place. We just need to get together and put our heads together and put it out there for people to be able to access. It's already there. I accidentally discovered it the other day.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And you just sparked something. So I just dropped it in our planning Voxer group. So just FYI after the episode.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to elaborate something else that he was talking about the networks as well. And I think something we've often talked about is the fact that not even everybody in the PasstheScope family can get to all the events. I mean, ISTE's a big thing. We all want to be there. We can't always get there, but we're all around other conferences happening. Like, for example, in Utah, we have USET, which is the ISTE affiliate. Well, I can definitely work with people here in Utah and out here in the West to help scope some of those things there and kind of share some of those things that can be scoped, obviously, and I can't always get to Texas, but Brian put on a great social media conference with his service center, and there were Texas educators there that were scoping it out and taking care of it, and that's kind of the way I kind of also interpreted the networks of saying, okay, we have the big beast, right, that is responsible for that every third Thursday, but then there's smaller sub communities within that can hit some of the more regional things that we can't all get to. I mean, if we can get to it, let's get to it and have a party, but we can't do it all the time. But there are plenty of us around to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be doing this thing at this conference I'm at. Let me show you how it works and have you join in the crew now. And now you're part of it. And I think that's kind of how I see that network piece as well, is branching out and almost having like little branches of the organization.
You're right, and that's actually something we've talked about, being able to cover at least the U.S. regionally, because we do have enough in our community to do so. But let me piggyback on that to say, at that Texas Social Media Conference, initially we were going to bring in just the PasstheScopeEDU crew to scope out those events, but the business community found out what we were wanting to do and asked if they can actually get in. So we were able to connect. So we had live broadcasts from Fort Worth Today and Fort Worth Business going on the entire conference period. We actually had 360 videos from Jamie Donnelly that were actually taking place and she tagged PasstheScopeEDU in that, so people know what we're actually what we're trying to do. So not only do we have that regional effect within our own community, but because it's so powerful and it's so infectious, other entities are willing to be a part of this because they understand the reach. So to be able to get the community involved, the local businesses, both small and large, involved at that particular conference is very powerful for PasstheScopeEDU. Hey, I see little man in the background.
That's my mini me showing up. That's what he does. He sneaks in. He's like a cat. He like sneaks in and all the time.
Oh man, that is too funny. But yes, and you mentioned Jamie Donnelly. I got to give a personal shout out to Jamie. She put me on her 360 hidden secret. Well, it's not a secret. She'll tell anybody who asks, but she told me all about her 360, like how she gets those looking so nice. So I just ordered that device myself today. So super excited. You did too?
Yes, made me take back my $800 camera for that camera.
Exactly. I was just like, ooh, so I can't wait until it comes. So I'm just like, yes, absolutely. So me personally, I might be doing some periscopes in 360. So we'll see. We'll see when it comes through. So yeah. All right. So one more question for y'all, because this has been such an amazing conversation. And I know that people who have not yet gotten involved, they probably want to know how they can get involved. So how can folks get involved with PasstheScopeEDU?
They can hit any of us up. Just follow the hashtag. We usually are sending out a graphic that is beautifully created by Brian or Claudia or Amy Storer. They have the design eye. Fabiana and Cassie sometimes will also jump in and create. So if you see that link, the PTS-EDU, PasstheScopeEDU, it's a bit.ly link actually, bit.ly/ and it's all caps, PTS-EDU. They can sign up, pick a time slot. It's a spreadsheet by 15-minute intervals. I would just caution you to check the tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet to make sure that that date aligns with that upcoming month. And once you sign up, you're on. And if you feel a little hesitant, and I've never used Periscope before, and I'm not exactly sure how to do so, then anyone in our Voxer community will be willing to do a tutorial with you, a private scope, just to make sure that your camera sound is working and it's not pixelated. So there's tons of support to help you get in. We won't just throw you in the fire and let you go in by yourself. So just hit anyone up, follow that hashtag, tweet at us, and we'll help you.
Yeah. You also can find us at PasstheScopeEDU.com. And then up in the top right left-hand corner, you'll see the sign-up link. That'll take you to that sign-up sheet. But you'll also be able to see past scopes from the last 2 years. And then the one just recently, you can follow the stories from the Storifys that Valerie has captured. Now we're using Wakelet to actually handle that. But you'll also see some tutorials on there on how to get started. A wonderful piece that Stacy Lovedahl put together to explain how to actually start your scope. So you can go through that route as well. The contact information is also on the website if you want to reach out to Derek or Valerie as well.
So, and for me, what I suggest people, if they want to get involved, I always tell them, do a search for PasstheScopeEDU. Just do a search on Twitter, on Periscope. You're going to find a whole bunch of stuff and start looking at it. Start seeing, okay, who's involved? Who can I reach out to? And honest and truthfully, just reach out. Oh, we got a helper. We got a helper
Captain
over.
Kindness.
Captain
Kindness.
Kindness.
Yay!
Say hello.
Hello.
She can't hear you because I have on the headphones.
Oh yeah. Hey, Captain.
So I think the biggest thing we do is just get out there and just kind of reach out to people. Again, just see what's being done already and kind of look at it and say, okay, here's kind of what's going on, and I think if anybody, like has been said already, anybody in the community is going to say, definitely, here, let me help you, let me get you going. How can we help you? But that website's a great place to go. I mean, I would probably start there, honest and truthfully, because you've got your sign up, you got previous stuff, you got a whole list of folks, and then you got a whole OBS like tutorial stuff on there. That's like, if you want to up your game, jump in there. That's a great way to do it. But don't be afraid to just say, I got a phone. Let's just do this on the phone and make it happen. Okay, you can do it anywhere you want as long as you got the internet connection. Don't feel like you've got to have the big production, but just you have a voice. Now share it. Let's hear your voice. Pull out your phone and open up Periscope and go.
And also to those conferences that are looking for us to come and help amplify the voice of the conference, contact information is on the website as well.
That's right. That's right. Get us out there.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, this was amazing. And to boot, we had a cameo appearance by the captain herself, Captain Kindness, in the house. So hey, Captain Kindness.
Hello.
So great to see you. So this was just an amazing episode. So we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you all for being on panel and for everything that you all do. Thank you to everyone on the YouTube live. So we see you, Peggy, Fabiana, and third person who's very quiet, but we see you and thank you as well. So, and so this will be available as a video as well as a podcast episode in the coming weeks. So definitely keep posted. Next week, 6 p.m. Eastern time, we will have a special episode. No, I'm sorry, a tweet and talk on robotics. So if you're into robotics and you want to be down on panel, you want to be down like Brandy, you know, there's like a video like that. There you go, Brian. Yes, absolutely. So if you want to be down for panel, just go to podcast.edumatch.org/sign up. And if you want to watch it, then go to podcasts.edumatch.org/tweet talk. So yeah, yep. So thank you all again, and hope everyone has a great rest of your evening. Captain, were you about to say something for us?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, on Wednesday we are going to do the Captain Kindness show.
Ooh.
Yes.
At 7 o'clock.
Is that Central Time?
That is Central Time. That
Very
okay?
nice.
Okay.
Very nice. Yes, check out Captain Kindness show on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So yes, absolutely. You do such a great job, Captain Kindness. So thank you for sharing your message. All right, bye-bye now.
She's like, I got my announcement and I'm out.
Right.
I'm
Right, exactly. All right. So everybody have a great night and have a great rest of the week. And thank you again.